Hi friends. First of all, thank you for your incredible support for our previous series, which has reached 30,000 views and continues to receive positive feedback. I am thrilled to see many students passing the CKA exam with the help of our CKA series. I have been able to interact with students through the comments box and have received great reviews and suggestions. I have taken all your suggestions into account and included more questions in this series. Now, I am excited to start a new series that will include more than 70 demo questions and answers. My goal is to help everyone following this series achieve over 90% on the exam. Stay tuned and let's ace it together. In this series, we will cover up to 70 demo questions and answers to help you crack the CKA exam. These 70 questions are designed from various domains: workloads and scheduling, 25 questions, services and networking, 15 questions, storage, 10 questions, troubleshooting, 10 questions, and cluster architecture and installation, 10 questions. If you master these 70 questions, I'm confident you can achieve more than 90% marks in the exam. Without further delay, let's get started with the first part. First part in the series is workloads and scheduling. We have more than 25 questions and answers for this part, and you can expect 10% mark from this domain. So let's go to the first question. The first question is to create a pod named KU001 web with the image of Redis, and the container name should be cache. This is straightforward question and the weightage of this question is just 2%. Okay, let's go to the cluster. Okay, we can use imperative commands for creating the pod. Before that, we have to save the YAML file through using dry run command. Okay, let's edit the YAML file. Container name should be cache. Let's save and apply. Yes, our pod is running. Next we have to verify our pod, so we can use describe command for the same. Here we can see our pod using Redis image. And container name is cache. Okay, we are successfully completed this task. Let's go to the next question. The second question in this series is to create a pod names KUZ001 with image engine X in the production namespace. You can create the namespace if it does not exist. The weightage of this question is 3%. This is also a straightforward question. Let's go to the cluster. Let's check the available namespace first. We can see production namespace is missing. As per the question, we can create the namespace if it does not exist, so let's create it. Now we have to deploy our pod on this namespace, so we can use the imperative commands. This is a good idea to saving our YAML file in the name of question number. Okay, let's verify the question. Everything is perfect, let's apply it. Please note, if you want to deploy a YAML file in specific namespace, then you can use -n namespace. Okay, now our pod is deployed on production namespace. We have successfully completed this task. Actually, we can deploy a YAML file into namespace in two ways. Another way is adding namespace on the YAML file under metadata. I will show that. Let's go to the documentation. Search for a sample YAML file. Let's copy this. Before that, just delete the existing pod. Okay, let's add the namespace under the metadata. Okay, let's apply the YAML file. Yes, our pod is deployed on the production namespace. In the exam, you can take the help of documentation if you have any doubts. Okay, let's go to the next question. The third question is to create a pod named KUB001 with below specifications. Label should env equals test, image should be nginx, and the namespace is develop. This is also a straightforward question with 3% marks. Okay, let's go to the cluster. First, check the available namespaces. Okay, we can see develop namespace is available. Okay, let's create the pod using imperative commands. Here the difference is we will add labels in this pod. Let's check the pod. Yes, our pod is running. Let's check the labels. Yes, our labels env equals test we can see here. Okay, we are successfully completed this task. Let's go to the next task. The fourth question in this series is to create a pod names KUB002 with below specifications. Environment variable should be env equals dev, image should be Redis, and the namespace should be develop. You will get similar type of questions in the exam for either adding labels or passing environment variables while creating the pods. The weightage of this question is 2%. Without further delay, let's go to the cluster. Let's check the available namespaces. Yes, develop namespace is available. Let's create the pod using imperative commands. This time we will pass the environment variable env equals dev through command line. Okay, let's check the pod status. Yes, pod is running. Let's verify the environment variables by using describe command. We can see the environment variable here. Okay, we have successfully completed this task. Let's go to the next. I want to just share some tips here. While your exam, you can access Kubernetes documentation if you have any doubts. For example, you want to get some help for making a pod, then just go to the documentation and search for the pod. And search for kind, then you can easily go to the sample YAML files. Let's copy the YAML file to your cluster. Please note save the YAML file name as question number, then it will help you later reference. So if you want to pass the environment variable, then search for it. Copy the sample and paste it into your YAML files. As you see, I just passes one label and environment variables through YAML file. Let's apply it. Let's verify it. Yes, labels are there. Let's describe it. Environment variables also there, so like this you can take the help of documentation while you are exam. Okay, happy learning. The fifth question is comparatively very easy question to create a namespace named production. The weightage of the question is just 1%. Okay, let's go to the cluster. Let's list the namespaces. We can see the production namespace is not available, so let's create it. Namespace is created. Let's go the next question. Next question is to schedule a pod to a specific node. Pod name should be KC001 test, and image should be Nginx, and the node selector is disk equals SSD, which means we have to schedule this pod to a node which have a label disk equals SSD. The weightage of this question is 2%. Let's go to the cluster. Let's list the nodes first. We have 2 nodes. In the exam, if we face this question that time, you can find more than 2 nodes in the cluster. Okay, let's check the labels. Yes, node 01 have the labels disk equals SSD, so you have to schedule the pod into this node with the help of node selector. So let's create the pod YAML file. Under spec we can add the node selector. Okay, let's apply the YAML file. Let's check the pod status. Yes, we can see the pod is scheduled on the node 01. In this example, regardless of node selector, this pod will schedule on node 01, but in the exam you will get more than 2 nodes, so without node selector we can say whether this pod will schedule on node 01 or not. Okay, I will show one more thing. What if we are mentioned another node selector? So let's delete the pod. I'm changing node selector to disk equals HDD. Let's apply. Let's check the status. It should be in pending. Yes, it is pending because we have no nodes with labels disk equals HDD. Whenever a node is available with label disk equals HDD, then this pod will schedule to that node. Okay, we can go to next question. The next question is to deploy a replication controller in your cluster. This application needs 3 replicas to ensure high availability. The name should be My Replica, and the image should be Nginx. Let's go the cluster. This time we can take the help directly from the documentation. Search for replication controller. Take this YAML file as reference. Okay, we have to change the name to My Replica. We don't need to change rest of anything. Let's apply. Okay, replication controller is scheduled 3 pods. We have successfully completed this task. I will show you how to scale the replicas, so just edit the YAML file and change the replica to 4. Let's apply again. Now it become 4 replicas. We can do the same through edit command. I will show that. This time I'm going to scale the replicas to 5 pods. If we edit, then it will auto-deploy. Now we can see it is scale out to 5 pods. Okay, let's go to the next question. The 8th question is to create a deployment. The name should be Cube Deploy and the image should Nginx, and replicas should be 2, and it should deploy under production namespace. The weightage is just 3%. Let's check the namespaces. We have to create the namespace first. Let's create the deployment YAML file using dry run commands. Add the namespace under the metadata. Okay, let's save and exit. Apply the YAML file. Yes, our deployment is scheduled. We have successfully completed this task. Okay, I will show you how to scale a deployment using edit command. Now I'm going to scale to 3 replicas. Yes, it is scaled to 3 pods. Thank you for watching. Let's go to the next task. The 9th question is, to scale an existing deployment. The question is, you can find a deployment Nginx deploy on dev namespaces. We have to scale that to 5 pods. The weightage of this question is just 3%. Let's go to the cluster. First, check the deployment. Okay, we can see the deployment Nginx deploy. Let's edit it. Change the replicas to 4 and save and exit. It will auto-deploy as soon as we save and exit. Let's check the deployment again. Okay, we can see now it is scaled to 4 pods. We have successfully completed this question. So far we covered some simple straightforward question, but next question is an intermediate question, and it is a sure shot question in the exam. The next questions is to create a new deployment called Nginx deploy, with image Nginx version 1.16 and one replica and record the version. Next, upgrade the deployment to version 1.17 using rolling update. Make sure that the version upgrade is recorded in the resource annotation. The weightage of this question is 5%. Okay, let's go to the cluster. First, let's create the deployment YAML file. Let's verify that. Perfect. Let's apply the YAML file. Please note, here we are mentioning ---- record command, along with the apply command. Okay, let's check the deployment. Deployment is successful. Let's check the rollback history. Okay, next we need to upgrade the deployment image to Nginx version 1.17. Here also we need to mention for record. Okay, image is updated. Let's check the rollback history. Yes, here we can see the rollback history of our deployment. Let's describe the deployment for verifying that. Yes, our image version is changed to 1.17. Okay, we have successfully completed this task. Let's go to the next task. A quick tip for you. What if we are not provide ---- record while upgrading? I will show that. Our deployment is scheduled. Let's check for rollback history. Next, just edit and upgrade the Nginx version and check the rollback history. Let's describe the deployment. Yes, our image version is upgraded. Next, we check the rollback history. You can see there is no revision history available. This is the difference, but in the exam you will get partial marks even if you are upgrading the version without record. For example, if it is a 4% marks question for upgrade and record, and you completed one task out of 2, so you will get 2% marks, so I'm recommending to attend all question even if you are unaware the complete answer. I hope this tips will help you. Okay, let's go to the next question.